All right, let's dive into a huge safety decision coming out of the world's biggest car market. It's a move that could seriously change how our cars look and, more importantly, how they work. This is a fascinating story about cool new tech, hidden risks, and how fast the rules can change.
So, it really all boils down to this one simple question. This design feature, the one that makes a car look like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, well, it's now officially a thing of the past in China. So why? Why would they take such a huge step against something so popular?
And there it is. That's the headline. China's government laid down the law, putting a final stop to these fancy handles on any new car sold there. Let's really get into what this means for car design and, honestly, for our safety.
So what exactly are we talking about? These aren't just your regular door handles. They're a whole aesthetic. They sit perfectly flush with the car, making it look super sleek, smooth, almost like a single piece of metal. It was a huge part of what made EVs feel like a real jump into the future. And this is where the whole story just takes a sharp turn. Because behind that smooth, futuristic look, a really serious danger was hiding in plain sight. A danger that only showed up in the absolute worst moments imaginable. The problem was terrifyingly simple. After a really bad crash, when the car's power gets cut, these electronic handles just wouldn't work. They wouldn't pop out. So in an emergency, when every single second is critical to get out or for rescuers to get in, the doors were effectively sealed shut from the outside.
This quote really just gets to the heart of it. The issue wasn't the door itself. It wasn't broken. The problem was the mechanism to open it was completely dead. It relied entirely on the car's electrical system, and after a crash, that system was often gone. No power, no open door.
And look, this wasn't just a one-off thing. After some really tragic and fatal incidents, safety regulators all over the world started taking a hard look at this design. Over in the US, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration even opened its own investigation into Tesla's door handles, pointing out that even the manual release inside the car could be tough to find in a panic.
And the response to all this? It was incredibly fast. I mean, look at this timeline. In May of 2025, China starts digging into it. By September, a huge investigation blows the story wide open. A little later, US regulators are on the case. And by February 2026, boom, China has a brand new rule on the books. That is a lightning-fast turnaround from a safety concern to actual regulation.
Now, this wasn't a decision made by just a few people in a quiet room. To come up with this new standard, the Chinese government brought in over 40 different companies. We're talking automakers, parts suppliers, the whole shebang. This was a massive team effort across the entire industry. And the list of companies that helped to write this new rule, it's basically a who's who of the car world. You've got huge Chinese brands like BYD and Xiaomi, plus global giants like GM, Ford, and Volkswagen. But there's one name that's conspicuously missing from that official list, as TechCrunch pointed out: Tesla, the very company that made this feature so famous.
So what does the new rule actually say? It's pretty simple, really. Every single door has to have an outside handle with a mechanical release, something you can actually pull. And the same thing goes for the inside. This makes sure that no matter what happens to the car's power, you can always open the doors. This all kicks in on January 1st, 2027.
When it's all said and done, this is what it boils down to. In that constant push for cooler designs, better aerodynamics, and a futuristic look, China has drawn a very clear line in the sand. It's saying that when a design choice, no matter how cool it looks, gets in the way of a basic safety feature, safety has to win, period.
And that leaves us with this final, massive question. China is the first country to put an outright ban on these handles. As the biggest car market on the entire planet, their decisions send ripples across the globe. So the real question now isn't just about what happens in China, it's about who's going to be next. Which country's regulators are going to follow their lead?